What's up, everybody? Just waiting for everybody to join and waiting for the man himself. So I'm just going to sit here and wait till people join. What's going on, everybody? Waiting on some more people to show up. Going on, French Benefits. Waiting on the man himself. Hope I sound okay. A little blurry. I have Wi-Fi off, so I don't know. Hopefully it'll equal out. Okay, cool. I'm sure we'll have some issues here and there. It's live. It is what it is. And when he joins, it may get worse. But we'll make do. The best we got. First ever Instagram Live. Well, I'm glad you could make it. Let's just wait for the man himself. Wait for him to join. Glad to see everybody. There he is. Douglas.
Testing.
Yeah, I hear you.
These headphones. I plugged in the charger. Plugged in my charger, not my headphones. Okay.
Take your time.
Test.
Get situated.
Get situated? Okay, give me a second.
Yes, there you go.
Wonderful. Situated.
Yes, sir. I'm already there.
Nice.
How's it going this evening?
Good, Brian.
I'm so glad you can make it. I'm honored you're here on Yost the Coast for a live interview. People have been begging me to get you on.
And
here he is. I know. Yeah, talk about great planning. But that's okay. We're here. We'll do it, and we'll go from there.
Exactly. And I also want to say, guys, if you're tuning in right now, we are going to do a giveaway today. I know historically people have done discounts and all that jazz, but I like to mix things up. So I'm going to do a giveaway of a yet-to-be-released bundle. So
awesome. That's awesome. Well, Doug, let's start off with you in case there's many people who have joined tonight that maybe don't know you very well or, know much about your company. How about you just kind of give a backstory about PAA, how it all started, how you got to where you're at?
It's not really that exciting. Back in 2012, we started doing what we do now. Granted, it looked differently then. Back then, we were one of 5 artisans to be around. There was no roadmap, no one to look up to, and we were kind of making things up for ourselves. That was back in 2012. It really comes out of, you haven't heard this story? You don't know the story?
I don't know the full story. I really don't.
Okay. Well, it goes back to Central America. I was living in Central America in a hammock on the edge of a rainforest, and I was getting bit a lot in between the hours of 5 and 6 p.m. by sand fleas. So I created this I can't even call it a product. I just created this thing for myself to take care of the itch. It was like an after bite type solution. They just didn't sell that stuff down there or anything like it. So I had to create my own, which I did. And it was very effective, and it became very popular amongst the locals and even fellow tourists that were traveling through. I called it Itch No Mas. So I had everyone knocking on my tent flap asking for some. And I thought to myself, if I ever make it back to the United States, I'm gonna make this and sell it and send it back down here. And that's exactly what I did. Actually, aside from that, I also created this deodorant called Stink No Mas. And it was emergency insect repellent / deodorant. And when you wore it, as you sweat, it would repel insects. That actually was more popular with the tourists than Itch No Mas. But they both sold really well. However, I was losing money on the shipping. So I was like, I needed to turn my attention and my focus on the United States. So that's what happened. I started creating mustache wax originally, and which followed the invention or the creation of my blog, How to Grow a Mustache. And I was really just trying to lure people back to my site by selling a product. It hadn't occurred to me that I'd actually sell a product, and a successful product, and we did. Our mustache wax was probably our bread and butter for the first 2 years, and then Synergy shaving soap came into play, and that really, I was not expecting that to take off as it did. I was not even prepared for that. In fact, the name of the soap was howtogrowmustache.com. Shaving soap. That's the worst name ever for a shaving soap. How to grow
Pretty bad, actually.
But all I was thinking at the time was this is going to be a way to lead people back to my website, because I was writing 3 articles a day, and it was a blog, so I was really into it and working hard on it, and I was just trying to drive traffic to it when we first began. And so that was my initial thought. Never thought of it was going to be this huge thing, and then all of a sudden it was.
That's awesome.
With that, yeah, it was really a welcomed accident.
So when did you finally shift gears and become Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements?
Well, that happened after we moved to Phoenix, because we were originally in Massachusetts the first 2 years. We began our business for about $500 in a spare bedroom in my apartment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was doing How to Grow a Mustache, and Fran, my girlfriend, was doing Pedal Push Your Fancies. Granted, I helped her out with that too. Like, she was selling, I worked on the wax and she was selling, I would do the photography. We would take our products and sneak them into antique shops and put them near something old and take a picture of it and then put it on Etsy later on. But,
nice.
Yeah, this is right after her and I got together. So that Pedal Push Your Fancies was hers, How to Grow a Mustache was mine. And once we moved to Phoenix, it just became easier to combine forces into one. Well, actually, it just makes much more sense, logistically too. So that's how that happened. That actually caused a lot of confusion with people too. Like, oh, he's running 2 companies. Oh, he's posing as one or the other. And it's like, dude, anyone who ever ordered from us on the return label was both of our names, How to Grow a Mustache and Pedal Push Your Fancies. It's not this big secret.
Yeah.
But if people can get confused over anything, they'll get confused. So
sure.
That happened. So the name change happened about 4 years ago to Phoenix Shaving, and that's the story in a nutshell. I mean, Crown King was born out of that. Crown King originally started as a brush line. I was really stoked to put out the synthetic brush line. I thought it was going to be the first one to really, push the synthetic brushes. Plaisance, their maker of knots. I discovered them. I found them through a friend, my friend Tim Blum, who also made brushes. We both discovered them. We were like, oh, we're going to totally, undercut Plaisance and do our own cool brushes. And so I created the Crown King line. He was doing his line, and I was doing my line. But the thing is, I worked so hard on putting this together. It took so much time sourcing the handles, designing the handles, and sourcing them, and then finding the knots from Plaisance manufacturer, that in that time, other artisans were doing the same thing. Or what they were doing was they were buying the handle. They're buying complete brushes, I think, from the manufacturer rather than sourcing from different places. And so I was sourcing from different places and getting different components sent to me and gluing them all together myself. I was setting all the knots myself and then shipping them out.
Sounds like a lot of extra work.
It was a lot of, not necessarily extra work, but it was a lot of work. And so that was how Crown King began. And slowly I began to introduce soaps to that line too, like special Crown King soaps. I never wanted to do more than 5. I ended up doing more than 5 because I'm crazy like that. But that's how it started. And my idea at the time was, I'll pitch it to big box stores. I'd rather have only 5 cents to offer big box stores so they don't put me out of business when they place one order for all 60 stores.
Sure.
When I offer 70 cents with Phoenix, so it's like I wanted this line to be the store line. But now everything's changed. And now Crown King has become our formulation, our main formulation. And so it's no longer, we're no longer selling under it. It used to be like a subsidiary of Phoenix. And now it's just combined.
You've merged it all into Phoenix.
Yeah, it's all Phoenix at the end of the day.
Well, see, no, it does. And so, obviously you said you're a certified, a perfumist, is that right?
Certified mad maybe, but not certified perfumist. I'd been perfuming for 7 years full on. I created my first perfume when I was 8 years old, 8 or 9. I can't really remember the exact date, but my chemistry set, my mom actually still has it. It's a rose perfume I distilled with my chemistry set back in the day. And yeah, she still has it. So I don't know what that tells you about how the quality of it was, but yeah, or how good it smelled. But that was my first one. Was about 8 years old. In fact, when I go home, my best friend from childhood reminds me. He's like, "I remember your first perfume." I was also making bombs too. Okay, I just want to put
really. Yeah. So, what was your first real scent that really took off and really made a name for yourself? And people were like, "Man, this is good shit."
Oh, Alphine.
Alphine? Now, is that something you still carry?
Oh yeah, yeah. Alphine. In fact, the name means at last, because I felt like I finally had hit something that was purely me, and it was totally unique and really like magical stuff. In fact, it's still my favorite. Well, it's tough to say favorite. I have so many favorites, but it's still my baby, only because the emotional attachment I think I have to it. So Alphine it's the bomb. And then second to that, I think, is CAD. And CAD is pretty much a play, one of our first homages, and that was to the original Barbasol scent.
Yeah.
And that was before barbershop scents were all the rave. In fact, that was part of a line I was doing for homages, different homages, Old Spice, Barbasol, all these different classic scents. And that would sell out. We'd do 500 soaps, and it would sell out in under 45 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, but not only were people watching us, also were Barbasol's lawyers. Because I was calling it, I called it Barber Soul.
Trying to dance around the copyright there.
But I had their stripes. I had the red, white, and blue stripes, but thinking it's very patriotic. But guess what? They own the stripes. So
wow.
I changed it, and I changed it to Barber Pole, but I still had the stripes there. So I had to change it again. And they were thinking that they were dealing with someone that couldn't change it as fast as I could. But I mean, I'm doing all my own design, everything. So I can change a label like this and print up new stickers in-house. And so they kept trying to screw with me. So finally I changed it to CAD for cease and desist. CAD.
That's what that stands for? That's awesome.
Also like the old slang word CAD, like I'm a CAD. And then I put myself in a boat in the desert telling them I'm not going anywhere. So
that is you on the label.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, because I actually was going to make a comment. I was going to make a comment on somebody who was posting, because obviously I'm on Instagram all day long, and I'm scrolling nonstop, and CAD came across today, and I looked at him like, that sure as shit looks like Doug, but I didn't say anything. But
yeah, I'm on a lot of those labels, a lot of the old ones especially, because a lot of those labels, and anyone who's read our sales pages knows that I write a lot of stories or sci-fi stories around the product and whatnot. And typically, I'm like well, I don't know if I'm the hero, but I'm definitely the main character getting himself into trouble a lot of the time. And so it's
that's awesome.
Well, I mean, Douglas Smythe in general is it's my character.
Yeah, it's your persona, right?
It's my persona. It's a character. And it's like, again, back when we came out 5 years ago, there was no roadmap. Everyone was doing something different. I took the Ronald McDonald type route. And plus it was, the internet where you're dealing with people on Reddit and stuff like that. You don't want people to know your name or who you are. There's a lot of crazy people out there. I can actually testify that nowadays. There's definitely a lot of crazy people out there. So yeah, I came up with this whole persona and whatnot. And so I don't feel bad using that in different things, but I don't think a lot of people realize that. People think like it's this whole ego thing. It's like, no, there's a story being told. There's a whole PA universe that Douglas Smythe exists in.
And that's cool. And I like that. I think it's a neat idea. Nobody does it. And you do play this character, but you seem to also live that life too. You seem to be animated and just like that. And that's what I think is cool about you. Like, I think when I first started getting into wet shaving, I think I had messaged you at one point, and you had asked if I had seen your videos, and I was like, yeah, you were sitting in a hot tub talking about shave soap.
Pool. It's a pool.
Oh, it's a pool. Okay.
Yeah. Everyone confuses that as a hot tub, but yeah, I'm not that shishy. But yeah. No.
So who designs your labels? Are you doing the actual design work?
Oh, that's me. Yeah.
Wow. That's great. Now, I've noticed recently, more or less, that you're kind of going with this whole alien theme. Is there a reason behind that?
Yeah, because everything in the shave world starts to look the same after a while. Everything's starting to smell the same and look the same. Back when I came out, the labels used to be so boring. You just like Mike's. It had a duck on it. You would typical Artisan would have like 4 or 5 scents, and they'd have a similar label and just say what scent it was. Then when we changed from, actually, you started seeing this for How to Grow a Mustache. How to Grow a Mustache, I just had the smiley blue face, but that started getting boring to me. So I started making alterations of that for different scents and whatnot. But then when I changed the name to Phoenix, it was like a breath of fresh air. Finally opened me up to do like whatever design I wanted to. So I started treating them like album covers. And
that's what I love about them.
I don't think a lot of people realize this, that back in the day, there's so many new people now, but it wasn't as exciting. Like labels were not as exciting as they are now. And I think we definitely had something to do with that. I don't want to take full on credit for that because I think the pomade world is doing something like that as well. But for soaps, you didn't see that. Now it's everywhere. So everything looks the same, smells the same. And when it comes to like themes that different shave soap companies do, like cowboys, barbershops, military, all those themes, we covered them all. And all of our again, we've had probably about 150 scents over the years, and I've always done a different theme. So everything that everyone's doing, like be it like they're focused primarily as a business or something they've done. We've already done that. But one thing that no one's done yet is space. And sci-fi.
No, and that's cool. And are you kind of going for like an Art Deco feel with some of your hardware also?
More like an atomic age.
Okay.
I mean, some of the stuff is Art Deco by default because razors that some of my razors are based on are from that period. But mostly sci-fi, atomic age is what I'm going for. And again, like that's ours. No one can like claim to like, you know, I started looking to the stars really on what we were going to do next, and that really kind of grew out of a meetup that we had in Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama. There was a southern meetup that was happening a few years back that was either going to be in Graceland or Huntsville. Huntsville, however, is where it happened, and that's where Space Camp is. That's where NASA is. So had it not been there, I mean, I was all over Space Camp. I bought my jumpsuit, one of my jumpsuits there. I was like a kid in a candy store. Had it not been there and been in Graceland, I might have taken the Elvis route. So you can be
Well, I'm glad you went the way you did because, like you said, now was Doppelganger your first in that particular like style that you had?
Oh no. Space has been on. I mean, I'm a huge sci-fi dork, like really obscure sci-fi, and I've always been for a while. In fact, I see you got Blackbot. Blackbot actually beat Doppelganger, but I've always teased at that for years. In fact, for that meetup, there was what did we do? We did a collaboration, Soap Commander and I, and that was space themed as well. But no, I've always hinted at it, and I always try to incorporate even the stuff that happens on Earth in these labels. It's still part of the PAA universe, so there's interplay between what's going on elsewhere and what's going on Earth. Like if you look at the Cold Spice label, you'll see things in that label. In fact, all of our labels are telling stories, and they all interact with each other in that regard. Like the Cube shows up, he's always observing. He's in a lot of our labels, just checking out what's going on. But yeah, there's a lot of interplay between all the labels. You just gotta find it. I encourage people to do it. Like in fact, before we released Harvest Moon was a trilogy. We've done soap trilogies too, where we tell different stories. But Harvest Moon was the final story. But during that whole marketing point when we were marketing that, I had numbers I was putting on Facebook for people to call with secret codes, like spies, the number stations where they give you different number codes. You had to decode it.
Yeah.
We've had anagrams on the labels that people had to figure out. It was a whole story that I was trying to tell visually through different really weird ads, cryptic ads, and through things people had to decode and whatnot and try to figure out what actually was going on. And so it was very interactive. I just want people to interface and interact with my product and have more than just a shaving experience with it. I want it to be a full-on experience. I want it to be the same sensation you get at the movies, right when the lights go dark and it's about to begin, that anticipation. Like that's what I want people to have and freak out over, rather than just like, I'm shaving.
Well, that's the thing too. Obviously, I built these ridiculous shelves because people were telling me, save space, stack your stuff. That's not what it's all about to me. It's all about showing it off and showing my collection. And you have some of the most unique labels. Obviously, I bought the Doppelganger hoodie, and I'm a big geek with a lot of your stuff. And that's one thing that's really cool is because like I look at your labels and nothing is out there like that. You put a lot of character and a lot of stuff behind it, and I really, really like that. But I know a lot of people are here and they're asking a lot of questions. It's going so fast. But let me kind of fire some of the questions off with you that I have. And
but hey guys, I didn't even see you down below there. The screen is so small. This stinks. This is the one thing about this that stinks is you got to do it on your phone, so you can't really see what's going on. Okay, there we go. Hey guys.
Everyone keeps talking about how awesome Atomic Bay rum is, and they want you to bring back some of your old stuff, some 8-ounce tins. I saw something like that. But shit, man, dude, I have so much soap. I could stop shaving today or stop buying today and will it all to my kids when I die. So,
yeah. Well, that's how it is. I mean, that's it. There's a difference, The people that bitch and moan about it and take breaks, those guys are just in it for the shaving, and they get kind of caught up in the hype. And then you have people like us that are collectors. It's like albums, or it's like stamps or coins. Like for us, it's all about the collection.
Exactly.
So people talk about like giving stuff away or like stopping. Like, why? I was like, I'm a collector. This is what I do. This is all I know. I mean, like, I would never sell any of my razors in my collection or trade. They all fill a space,
Well, it's like as a kid, I was raised to collect baseball and hockey cards, or action figures or something like that. And
comic books, coins, stamps.
Exactly. And so kind of the shaving has been the same thing, but it's also a way to express myself through scent or whatever. And of course, I bought this crap to begin with because I was using the cartridge razors like everybody else. And I walked into an Art of Shaving store a few years ago and was blown away just by the cool, like I didn't know it existed. I didn't know this was a thing. Like I thought I had to deal with canned shit in a cartridge razor, and then I walked into the store. I'm like, oh, I just walked out with $100 shave kit.
Yeah,
but I was sold by the process and taking the time and whipping up the lather and shaving with an old razor, and that geeked me out. Then I realized that there was more niche companies out there, such as yourself and other small people. And I'm like, there's good stuff out here, and then the rest is history. but let's get about you. What is a typical day for you, for Doug and Fran? Like, when you go into the office, what are you doing? Are you packaging shit? Are you constantly working on something? What is the typical day for you?
There's no typical day. I mean, that's the one thing about Artisans, and I know I'm not only speaking for myself when I say this. We all pivot on a dime. There's no normal day. You know, so you're constantly jumping around, moving from one station to another. There's a new idea. There's a box or some packaging you might be trying to get made for you somewhere. There's a design you could be working on. I mean, there's so much going on at any given time. So I can't say every day is the same because not every day is the same. I can say that certain things will happen every day, like fulfillment of orders will happen, stuff will be made, and so on and so forth. But there is no like typical daily schedule that we stick to. And that's why we can compete with the big boys, and why we can do more than the big boys, why we can offer 70 cents where like a bigger company can only offer like 5, you know?
Sure.
So,
now, another thing is you've had, like you just mentioned, you have so many different scents and stuff. Are there any that you thought would have sold better that maybe didn't, or ones that you thought weren't going to sell as good but sold better than you expected?
No, I always assume everything's going to sell really well.
Well, I like your train of thought.
I wouldn't do it otherwise. But no, there is some, I mean, well, that happens with, not only soaps, with razors too and whatnot, like the Prismatic. That was released at the same time that the DOC Evolution was released. So I eclipsed it by releasing them both at the same time. This is why I don't release stuff at the same time a lot of the time anymore, from lessons I've learned, where I did this, and people didn't even notice the Prismatic. And so it kind of...
One would outshadow the other?
And the DOC did. But eventually we stopped making the DOC because I wasn't feeling it. But the Prismatic, however, was my baby. And finally, different, YouTubers and just different people buying stuff, buying different products, customers were falling in love with the Prismatic, going, wait a minute, this is awesome. So it was kind of like this unsung, like, hero of a razor that people didn't realize how good it was because there was no hype behind it. And still to this day, I don't think it gets a lot of hype, but it is a really good seller now. There is a cult following for it.
So what have you, after the few years you've been doing this, what have you learned about the wet shaving community and just people buying shave soap in general?
Drink beer. No, someone's asking me what I'm sipping. Hey, Mendez.
I've got Blue Moon here.
What have I learned about the...
Just as a whole, like, have you found any certain trends? Do you see anything with the community? Are they looking for something? Are they being sold by like a cool backstory and a fancy label?
Oh, okay. Well, year to year, different things become popular year to year. So, in fact, I think we should probably look at some predictions for 2019 at some point during the show.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you have your Bay Rum years, you have your Scuttle years, you have your Brush years, where different things represent different years to me. That's what I've noticed, that, for the most part. But I don't know. It's been a really slow year for, actually, I don't know. I was going to say it's been a slow year for growth when it comes to newbies, but that's not true. There are a lot of new faces and people that I've met this year. So they are slowly coming in. Which, I don't know what that's, I know what it has to do with it. We're reaching out more. That's the thing is I want to say to all you folks watching, there's 27 of you. If all of you get one person into this, that's awesome. It really is. It grows the whole community, and we all need to be doing that. Just creating an awareness around it. And I know our friends look at us like we're nuts.
Yes. Even my kids, they come into my bathroom and they go, oh my God.
But it makes a difference. I mean, I really feel like we should be even further than we are. Like, it should be mainstream right now. There should be celebrities shaving this way, and it's not there yet. And I think it's mostly our own fault, because unlike the microbreweries, this is not a microbrewery, but microbreweries, all these guys, different breweries or brewers, they were working together collectively, and it was raising all of them up. They were even sharing the same distribution, everything. In our little world, it's a little more, people more catty, and just like petty about things. And it's like they're not working together. Most people are working against each other. And I think that has to do, I mean, in comparison wise, I think cost of entry is much more for brewing than it is for creating a soap. So you're getting all types of people. And some people have this whole like scarcity mindset. So they get really weird, like, and they attack the other person. It's like if everyone worked together and helped grow and nurture the community, we'd all be in a better place.
And I think a lot of it now, and that's the thing too, is, you know, you're obviously aware of it too, but it seems like every other week somebody's popping on Instagram, and I don't mean to go off on anybody, whether it's veteran owned or something else, but somebody's popping up making a shave soap. And not that I have anything against that, but it's like the market is so oversaturated already. Are you really doing a service by making your own? Are you are you purely in it for the money? Are you in it for the fame? You know, whatever it is, there's, you know, I can think of maybe 4 or 5 off the top of my head, you included, that I look at as the big guys. Now, granted, there's a lot of little companies out there that I love, and that's kind of what my Instagram has been. And I don't want to call out names to anybody, but there are a few in the industry that I feel only promote the ones that kick them back enough, give them enough kickbacks. And and to me, it's not worth it. You know, you've been kind to send me stuff. I've purchased stuff. I've supported you, and I wouldn't have you on if I didn't feel you were worth it. But I feel that I have a service. Well, I feel that I owe people who don't have the luxury to get stuff handed to them, that I want somebody who's going to tell me the truth and cut through the bullshit and not say everything's the best soap they've ever used. And I think that does a lot of people good. I have grown men asking me what they think about stuff, and I have no problem telling you. I'm like, remember, this is my opinion, but I think I've used enough to know what's good and what's not. And so if you value my opinion, I'd be more than happy to give it to you. And that's kind of why I wanted to do this stuff, because I feel a lot of guys lose their integrity because they're getting either in good with the owner or they're getting certain kickbacks. And I just feel that I try to maintain my integrity with my reviews or my pictures or my descriptions, because it's not benefiting me any. I'm not on your payroll. I'm not on Barrister and Mann's payroll. There's a few companies that have sent me stuff that I straight up said weren't good, and they don't talk to me anymore. I'm not losing anything from that. You know, if anything, I've gotten more respect from consumers, and that I feel it's worth letting everybody know whether I think it's good or not. And it's not worth just trying to say it's good just because I got it for free. You know, and that's just the way I look at it. So I know a lot of people have asked, I don't mean to kind of switch gears here, but I just want to kind of keep us on focus a little bit. Can you say anything about your Big Shave event coming up? Can you give dates? Can you give any info on it?
Yeah, I can definitely say that. Big Shave, well, I mean, there's very little going on at this point, just because we're trying to get through the holidays. I mean, you got to understand, one of these events, they're a lot of work. They take us months to put together, and we're not getting paid to do this. This is a free event. So, I mean, we now ask for, since we have to rent a space as to having a free one like we had the first 3 years, we ask for vendors to, you know, to buy a table, which is usually around $100. And, you know, so that pays for the room, pays for the barber chair I sometimes have to buy, pays for the rental van that I need to use to pick up the artisan samples that are sent to me, you know, pays for everything. And so it's not really a money-making event at all. In fact, last year's Big Shave East, I lost the most yet to date. But so I just want people to know that it's about the community. It's about everyone getting together and having a good time at the end of the day. It's like the Lollapalooza of shaving. And so a lot of work, time, and energy goes into it. And I wouldn't do that. I would only do that if I got something out of it, like it being my passion, or I was getting paid.
Sure.
So
and I get that.
I really enjoy doing this. I really love it, and but it is a lot of work. So we wanted to get through the holidays first before we really delved into it. However, I did send out some teasers and some invites to artisans that have participated in the last few years. That said, if you're watching this now and you're an artisan, you didn't get one from me, contact me, Douglas@phoenixshaving.com. Douglas@phoenixshaving.com. Do it right now. But just give me your email address so I can get you on that list. Or, you know, better yet, go to Big Shave. What do I call it? BigShaveSouthwest.com and sign up there. But that's the best way to do it, I think, right now. Anyways, now I'm looking at it. But I won't start working on it until probably about January 2nd.
So you don't have like an official date or anything set, though?
Well, it's going to be, historically, it's been in either April or May.
Okay.
Except for last year. I think last year was a little bit later. But we typically like to do that around that time. And we'll especially aim for that time of year. This year, being that it's in Phoenix, and that's when the weather's the best, and that's when prices really drop. So, yeah, I think it'll be an ideal time, end of April, May. Big swig.
There.
But yeah, it's a really awesome time. I mean, there's always a good turnout, always great vendors there. I hope to have many there this year. I mean, we'll see what happens. The thing is, the last 2 years we've done it in different locations, so we never really know what to expect. And being that it's free, I can't count ticket sales, so I don't know who's going to show up. But we've been very lucky. We've been very, very lucky. Of course, I market the hell out of it, but we've been very lucky for the last 5 years to pull off the shows that we have. And I've also had a lot of great people helping me out. So I'm looking forward to this year. It's going to be awesome. We have live demos, people turning handles live. You can see that, people making different products, so you can get a behind the scenes. We have live panel discussions going on, live shows going on. There's just so much free shaves, free straight razor shaves. It's really just a full-on event. I love it. Some people pick on it and oh, it's a free show. I
think it's a really cool idea.
It's awesome. It's awesome. It's something that I want to go to, and since it didn't exist, we had to make it happen. And that's a true story. There was a big meetup like this years ago that the Q brothers threw called The Great Shave, I think is what they were calling it. It happened in Chicago in about 2000. I could be wrong. I'm thinking 2009, bless you. 2009, 2010. And it never happened again. I used to find it on YouTube back in the day when I was scrolling around. It might have been even earlier than that. Happened 2 years in a row. You could see talks probably still from it. And I was like, oh, man, when's this going on again? It's not going on anymore. It's I want to go to one of these things. I actually contacted them and said, hey, guys, let's do Big Shave Cruise. I was trying to get them to do something. And they weren't into it anymore. So I was like, great, now I have to do it. So that's how Big Shave came to be. And
now, do you think it's getting bigger every year? Are you getting a bigger turnout every year?
Again, since we moved from the last 2 years, or last year we moved to a new location. So that was our first year there. So for the East Coast, it was a good, we had a couple hundred people. That was great. Nice. But the last year in Big Shave West in Pasadena, our first year we had a couple hundred people. And by the third year, we had close to 500, 600 people, somewhere in between there.
Wow.
The count was weird because it was 2 entranceways, and I was giving away bracelets at the front entrance, not the back. So I'd say between 500 and 600. And vendors that were there agree with me on that number. So, or in that estimate anyways. So yeah.
That's awesome. Now, I obviously have not really discovered or been in with your company up until I'd say the last year, but I've had some of your more old school fans ask me questions to ask you. And I know you kind of touched on this yesterday with me in the messages, but people were asking about your round table that you used to do in your podcast. Is that something that you don't do anymore, or you plan on doing again?
All right. Yes. I mean, that's not an answer, right?
It's not.
The podcast. So, okay, there's been many podcasts. The first one was Mustache and Blade, and that was with me and Ryan Stephen Green, documentary filmmaker Ryan Stephen Green. In fact, if you see my new video that just came out today, Ryan did that. So people that remember Mustache and Blade. In fact, you can still find Mustache and Blade. Google Mustache and Blade podcast afterwards. Anyone watching this after the fact. It's even on YouTube. I put some episodes up there. But that was one of the first wet shaving podcasts. Rick DeWeese, what's his podcast? It's been going on forever. Rick beat us by 2 weeks, but we were behind the scenes talking about it before anyone launched one. And I was talking to Mantic. I wanted Mantic to be my co-host, and he just couldn't do it at the time. So I ended up asking my friend Ryan, and it clicked. We just really clicked chemistry-wise and started doing it. And so that took off. We probably got about 70 episodes into that before we faded with it. Well, just Ryan had a kid, so I didn't have the time for it anymore. And then when that happened, I moved on to working with Kazantzidis on the Cutting Edge podcast, which is also still out there too. You can probably find that on iTunes, or if you just Google Cutting Edge Wet Shaving Podcast, you'll find that. And I think we might have some episodes on YouTube as well. That was a lot of fun. And then, I can't remember if it was the same time or after Cutting Edge. Cutting Edge, this is where me and Con are both getting busier and busier. So that's what has to do with a lot of these things not lasting that long. We have great ideas, but just setting time to meet up and do these things, and then editing and post-production after the fact can really, take a lot of time.
Life gets in the way. I get that.
For everyone else but me. I'm always the guy waiting to do the next show. So then there was Wet Shavers Roundtable, which was something really cool that me, Ricky, Con, Marty, and David Gonzalez put together. And we were all the YouTubers at the time. And we thought we'd do a live roundtable discussion like this, with 4 of us with questions and whatnot that we could, ask and answer, and have different guests on every week. And we did for a long time. We did it for 3 years, actually. And
Oh, wow.
Slowly those guys, everyone gets busy. So we had constant, switching of chairs to where it ends up with finally being like David, me, Scott, Ostermiller, and Mantic. And we pretty much closed that year 3. That was us. And yeah, it's just, we all get so busy at that. So what I would do is I'd do it live like this. Then after the fact, I'd edit it, mix it down, put an intro, all that jazz, and put it up on YouTube. So the show may have started at 7, but I wasn't done with it until midnight, every time. And you know how long it takes to upload something sometimes.
Absolutely.
Or export something. So it became a lot of work. And it was 3 years. That Saturday night for 3 years, I missed every new movie that came out. So I sacrificed it for you, America. But that was a kick-ass show, and I really would like to bring some form of the roundtable back, because we had people that would show up every week, same people. And it was great. We had a great group of folks, and it all was just like positive shave talk, like this, like we were just having a good time drinking and talking about, we would talk about new products that we got every week, because we were always getting new products. And it was great. People were like, we were all using the same stuff at one point. And I think when it comes to predictions, like we used to do predictions too, yearly predictions, like on New Year's like this, I think we had a lot to do with influencing what was popular that year, because we were all talking about it. It was really cool. It was really cool. I'd like to bring that back, and someday I will. However, I'm just so busy. We're so busy right now. I knew I'd rather be shaving episodes coming out, because holidays this was our busiest holiday yet.
That's great. I'm happy for you. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Now I know the comments are flying through, and I'm trying to glance at them. A couple minutes ago, somebody had mentioned what is mine and what is your favorite PAA scent. Personally, I haven't. Obviously, there's so much out there of yours. I'm overwhelmed. Of the 4 or 5 that I've tried, I'm going to immediately say the Black Label Doppelganger and Black Bot. Black Bot, just, I don't know what it is. I've never had a musk before, but it's fantastic. And the Black Label Doppelganger is incredible. Do you have a personal favorite of your own that you feel is probably your best?
No, I don't even have a favorite color. I refuse to. No, I really don't. I think you lock yourself in when you do stuff like that. Like, you don't give yourself any wiggle room. So I don't have any favorites. And if I did have favorites, I'd probably only offer my favorite.
True.
I wake up inspired one morning with a new scent in my mind. Like, I get up and start working on it, and have it done by the end of the day.
So what inspires you to come up with these new scents all the time? It seems like every week you're putting out something new, whether it's a new piece of hardware or a new piece of software. It seems like you're always creating and bringing out something new, and I can't keep up.
I know, it's funny, because I was talking to someone this morning that was giving me suggestions on what I should do with my business. I get this a lot. And he was saying, if you worked on getting yourself outside of the forums, you wouldn't have to worry about releasing new stuff every week, And I don't know where he got that idea from, because that's not why I do it. And I am outside. I have a huge following, not me, but my PAA does, outside of the forums as well. And we work hard to build that. So it was just his misconception. The only reason I release so many new things all the time is this: I love what I do. This is what I do.
Yeah.
I'm really into scents. I'm really into always creating something new. That's just who I am.
That's awesome. Now,
there's no rhyme or reason to it. Same thing with Fran. I mean, Fran's just as creative as me and just as passionate about what we're doing here.
Now, I have a personal question. Most of these questions are ones I've gotten from other people, besides just my own curiosity. What made you want to start making your own razors and stuff? Are you making those? Like, are you sourcing them out with somebody else? Are you doing the design work? How is that done?
Well, what started me off with that was I'm a collector. I collect vintage razors, and there's a lot of great designs from the past that I noticed are just lost to history over and over again. And this goes for every type of product, aftershaves as well. In fact, I'll talk about another one that's disappeared in a moment. But it freaks me out that these things disappear. In fact, if the internet didn't explode when it did, we might not be having the same conversation right now. We wouldn't even be talking right now. But everything that we have historically that we now have in the archives of wet shaving is there. It's not going anywhere now. We've cataloged it and so on and so forth. But there's so many products that have disappeared that aren't in that archive, that people don't even remember, that P&G doesn't have any history of, even though they created some of these products. So that scared me, and I wanted to work like as an archive almost, and bring back some of these great designs that no one was talking about, like the DOC. I know like DOC is like this huge thing now, and now China's doing one and everyone's selling one. But there was a time when we were a small artisan. We took a huge risk on having this remade, this classic design. There you go. So having that remade at a time when we really were getting a lot of crap from people, we took a risk to sink our money into making that and release it to the masses, and people absolutely fell in love with it because it is an awesome design that it just disappeared. It absolutely, I mean, there was just not many people knew about it. And so now a lot of you new guys, you're lucky to even see that, to have access to it, because we didn't back then. If you wanted that design, you had to buy the Grand Razor, which was the vintage razor, and that would have cost you a couple hundred, between $60 to $150, depending on where you're getting it.
Sure.
But so that was my thing, is to bring back obscure things that typically people spend hundreds of dollars on, or are hard to find, and make them available to the masses at a fair price. And then these companies in China saw the popularity of this, other vendors saw the popularity of this, and started ripping me off. And they could, not rip me off, but take
copycat, definitely, yeah, absolutely. They're capitalizing on what you put the work into.
We took the risk bringing back something, and we proved how popular it would be. And now other people are, taking this. The same thing happened with our scuttle, our Crown King scuttle. There's a bunch of people selling some similar designs now that right after we showed how popular this is, we did all the footwork, created all the hype and marketing, got it all out there, and proved to people that, hey, this is really a great way to shave using the scuttle. Now you see other companies selling them or trying to undercut us on Amazon, which is just a race to the bottom. Again, I don't know, just do something original, people. Do your own thing. It just seems wherever there's a McDonald's, there's a Burger King popping up.
It's true. And see, that's the thing with you. I've got 10 more razors, 15 more razors behind me, but if most people come in and they look at my collection, besides my straight razors, because those are kind of cool and unique and different, most people will gravitate to these two guys. They're like, ooh, those look old, but they don't. and especially when you added these color plates and stuff in here, I mean, I don't know. Now, between the two of these, personally, I reach for this one a lot more. I get a better shave out of it, but I love them both. Both, and they're both. Like I said, they both have that old vintage look, but with a modern twist, and that's what I think is really cool about them.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about the handle on? Actually, can you hold those up again?
Yeah, sure.
The same handle?
No, one has the bomb tip. Okay. I think on that one.
So obviously, the bomb tip is based on the ball tip, and again, this is something we were bringing back. We thought we'd beef it up, make it a little bit bigger, and so I love that. But the other one, strangely enough, I collected Neo Victorian, or the Neo Vic. And that was my design, believe it or not. I thought it was my design anyways. Turns out Wade and Butcher had been doing it for years. Same thing with Durham. Same story. They working out of the same company. One bought the other company, but they offered that handle. And I didn't realize it till after the fact. So it was it was interesting. I just found myself in the same place that we drank from the same well. I think that's what it all comes down to, 100 years apart from each other. But I caught it before I released it, and said, hey, this is what's going on. But I really thought we were creating this. So I was just in that same vein at the time. Again, I collect loads of razors, so the influence and inspiration is always there.
Well, I watched one of your videos, one of the Latherby shavings with your buddy, your sidekick, Matt Pisarsik, which I don't know how you haven't strangled yet. But there was one video where you were talking about your vintage aftershaves, and I was like, man, I didn't know that was really a thing, and now I kind of want to do it. And there's one you've been showing recently. Was that like the pine scent you had from Gillette or something?
Spruce.
Spruce, yeah.
This came from that episode. Someone reached out to me and said, hey, there's one available. And a few people did, in fact. But my friend Martin did, and he's in England. And it was only in England on eBay. I tried to buy it, but they wouldn't send it to me, the seller. So I reached out to Martin and said, hey, Martin, do you mind having it shipped to you and then shipping it to me and so on and so forth? And he was good enough to do that. But this is actually a gift kit from the 60s. Again, not much information on it. It's talc, and it's also a brand new bottle of the aftershave. And again, only one in existence. I don't think another one, well, if it is, it's not for sale anywhere online.
Yeah.
I think it was. I now firmly believe, after that episode, I wasn't sure, but I firmly believe this was a British release by Gillette. I think they were testing it, using the UK as a test audience for it. I don't think many were made. I think it was around the same time of Sunup, or right when Sunup was discontinued, because it's the same bottle as Sunup. But again, the archivist at P&G doesn't know what this is. Granted, he's in the United States. I need to find someone in the UK, but he never heard of it. he should hear of these things. Like these people should be doing their homework on this. So
Yeah.
what else? And this is a Gillette product. So what else is gone? What else? I mean, like it blows my mind.
Stuff that's just lost in history.
That's why I really try to bring stuff back. Bring back these razors. Bring back the DOC, the prismatic, based on the classic Laresh design. You know, it's important to me that these designs come back.
Somebody just asked, when is your stainless steel DOC coming back in stock?
Oh, soon. You got to understand that, like, nothing is so crystal clear when it comes to getting anything machined, especially when what you get machined is this big and what their other customers get machined is huge.
Sure.
So you're standing in line pretty much waiting to get the job done. So they get to it when they get to it. So I never really like to give away a date because I don't even get dates. So I don't want to guess and then end up lying to someone about the day and then getting in trouble after the fact. So it's safer for everyone if I just say soon, because it should be soon. In fact,
well, and like if anybody knows anything about your website, if you sign up for your text alerts or your email alerts, that's the best way to get a hold of your products. That's how I found out when your aluminum was released and your Starling, is because your email. As soon as I got those text messages, I went to your website and bought it.
Yeah. The texting is I think that's the best thing in the world. I wish every company had something like that. But texting is great. I had one guy who was just saying me praises because he was stuck in traffic in California when I can't remember what the release was. It was some big release though. And he would have missed it otherwise, he was saying. He's like, I wasn't checking my email. I was in my car. I wasn't, looking for the newsletter. I wasn't, the notification came right through, went right to your site. You got it. He was like, thank you. And so I'm a huge fan of it.
Somebody said you need to make make your own spruce set, like you did with Sunup.
Yeah, people thought I was going to be doing that after that episode and whatnot. But I got to say, folks, though it is rare, the scent really isn't that unique. And that's what I'd like to do, again, with bringing back obscure stuff that you can't find other places. I think that it smells very 60s. It just smells classic aftershave. And if I could hold up to the screen the bottle and let you all take a whiff of it, you'd be like, oh, okay. It's nothing that impressive. Not like
it's more collectible and desirable for that reason, because it's rare, not because it smells good.
It's like the toggle. The only reason why people are so thrilled about the toggle is because it's so rare and hard to find. It's not really the best shaver. In fact, that's why it was discontinued. The design just wasn't there yet. So
sure.
People often confuse that rarity for performance. And no, it's not the same. But who knows? Maybe I will but I'm afraid to do that and then it not sell.
Understandable. Well, let me ask you, I have picked your brain and I don't want to keep you all night. It's New Year's Eve for everybody, for God's sake. Horrible planning on my part. This is the point where you plug yourself. What can people expect from you in 2019? What do you want to talk about that you possibly have coming out? What can people look forward to for PAA next year?
Okay. Well, before I do that, let me answer just some of these questions real quick.
Sure, please. Absolutely.
Doug, it's awesome. You made your own spruce set like you did with the Sunup. Oh, okay. If someone wanted to get into vintage aftershaves, what would you recommend as a starter find? Okay, that's a really good question. And what I highly recommend is watching I'd Lather Be Shaving. I don't remember what number episode it is. It's our American Pickers episode, though, where we actually go into antique shops.
I really like that one.
Yeah. That will show you what to look for. But something like this, for example, Stefan. In fact, I think I bought one of these. This one. You should see my kitchen. I have it decorated with vintage aftershaves. But I found this one on that episode. But where stuff like this is something you might want it for the bottle. It's really cool, funky design. It's great. But when you see that much left in it, this much air, be a little weary about using it, because all that air in there can turn it fast.
Sure.
So you might not be able to wear it, but visually it looks really cool. And so, I mean, I'm not really about necessarily wearing all of them, but I like them visually.
Oh, yeah.
And another thing to consider is we don't really know what's in this. Back in the day, they were putting anything they wanted to in this stuff. So
sure.
You want to be a little weary about that. But, a great place to start actually is with decanters from Avon, too. Those are, they're not super collectible, but there's thousands and thousands out there. They're super cheap and they're visually really cool. So Avon decanters are a good place to start. But if you do see any Stefan's bottles, I'd pick them up too. I love the shape of them. What else do we got around here? Here's another one. This Flying Cloud bottle. This is great. I love this.
Oh, that's cool.
The screw cap. It looks like a cork. It's actually a
screw
cap. But yeah, you know, I mean, so it's really whatever captures your attention.
Now, I have hundreds of I'm over-exaggerating. I have probably 20, 25 aftershaves or bombs, and by far you have the coolest, unique bottles of any of them. As far as I'm concerned, 50 years from now, and my great-grandkids are going through them, they're going to stop and they're going to touch and they're going to look at these and be like, those are something neat. Not only do you have your logo in them, but they got these nice ridges and the cool artwork. Everyone, probably 70% of the other bottles I have all have the same basic shape. And that's what I think really makes yours stand out too, is just you put a lot of effort behind all that.
Well, yeah, and that only comes from the fact that I collect them, again, 5 years ago, we were the only one with the flask bottles. Now you have over 200 artisans out there, and I mean that. There's over 200 artisans. When I send out invites for the big shave, I count how many there are. And so last year it was over 200. So, there's only so many bottles out there for people to be using, so everything starts to look the same. So being that I'm a huge collector, I just go back and look at my collection and go, well, what do I want? What would I want back then in the bottle? How can I bring that into the future? And, this just aesthetics are really important to me.
Absolutely. And it shows. It's great.
Thanks, man. Release a series of new aftershaves based on classic scents like the original Old Spice. Jordan, I have one. It's called Cold Spice. It's based on the original Old Spice, but it has a menthol in it, which I think is the best of both worlds. But it's the Shelton's formula. It's based on the Shelton's formula. So look for that. It's called Cold Spices.
You need to make a shave soap called High Road.
High Road. High Road. That sounds like my life in the 90s. Yeah, see, Reyes agrees with me. Toggle is not a good shape. No, I think the toggle, people freak out over the toggle. And again, the only reason why there's so much hype around it is because it was super rare. It was discontinued for a reason. It's super rare. But that doesn't mean it's a good shaver, and it's not. In fact, I think adjustable razors in general, they're more like a newbie type thing. I think some of the old dogs, it's like, well, it's just novelty. Like, I'm only going to use one setting. I can't see changing it more. I mean, some people, there are, different situations where you could change the setting for your neck and then change it back for your face. Some people do this, but for me, I don't take adjustables that seriously. It has to be really, really, really cool.
Somebody else said bring Tea Party back.
Tea Party. That was original for the Massachusetts meetup about 5 years ago. That may come back, but tea scents don't really do that well. And that stinks. If it doesn't sell, it takes up space on my shelf, and I can't create something new. But yeah, I mean, but I don't want to be totally disrespectful towards adjustables. Matt has a really cool adjustable, and I'm talking about point adjustment razors, the one where you can lock in. Obviously, I like my DOC adjustable, but that's a whole different design where there's no locking. That's where you can really customize it. But again, you only customize it one time to your face. So I'm not a huge fan. But that's what it is with toggles. It looks like Reyes is in agreement with me. It's not a good shaver. And I don't think Gillette is like the cream of the crop when it comes to safety razors either. Their best razor, for me, again, this is your mileage may vary, and I don't want to sound like I know everything.
Of course.
But the red tip is my favorite design. I love everything about that razor. I love the weight of it. I love the look of it, and I love the feel of it. And I think that's their best. I think they could have stopped after that and don't need to do anything else. But they did. But when it comes to really good designs, there's such a huge world out there across the ponds, in Europe, other parts of the world that were doing some really, really, really cool designs too, that Gillette was just burying, or they were scooping up, buying them, putting them out of business. So they were, I don't know if it was out of jealousy or out of market share. I'm sure it was out of both.
Probably just trying to be a monopoly.
They really were trying to control it all. And they're a business, they're a big business, and we shouldn't blame King Gillette for that. He didn't last long in the company. They booted him relatively soon when it first took off. He was a utopian. He actually wrote a couple books on utopia. He was kind of like almost a beatnik type fellow back in the day. Yeah, not the businessman everyone paints him out to be. But yeah, there's other great designs, and that's why when it comes to I Love It Shaving, what's cool about that is Matt is a Gillette guy. He's the Gillette guy. Everything Gillette he knows about, he collects, and I'm like the European guy. I like all the other ones.
and see, I've tried so many, and I stuck with DEs just because they were easy and safe and simple. But to be honest, if somebody told me pick your two favorite razors right now, it would be my 1914 Everready. This thing, it blows my mind that something this old shaves this goddamn good. Yeah. Between this one and your single edge here, these are probably my two go-tos in my collection because this mimics it as far as, now granted it's a little heavier and it's got a little different design, but this mimics it as far as the shave quality and the close shave I get, along with just, I don't know, it's fantastic. And I think if anybody can't find 1914, then I highly recommend them going for your Starling. I think you're going to get a very similar type shave in that respect, and along with having that cool look to it. These are my favorite two in my collection.
That makes me really happy, because a lot of guys gravitate towards big, long, fat, thick handles.
And that's how I was too.
You get more control with those little ones.
Well, see, and when I first started, I think a lot of it had to do with me not knowing how to apply pressure. So I would buy a handle that was heavy enough to kill somebody with.
Yeah.
And it just, like I have like a Parker 89R head, but then I put this timeless razor, which is a gorgeous handle. He handmade this handle, but it seriously weighs a ton. And I never touch it anymore ever since, like, I think the one that really converted me was your double open comb with the aluminum, because it was so lightweight, and I could just flawlessly just get in there and get it done. And then you threw the single edge out here, and I was like, oh man, these are really nice.
Yeah, that was a long time coming. The single edge I've actually been working on since probably the beginning of our business. And I went to two different buddies, two different other vendors of mine. At one point or another, I went to them and said, hey, what do you think about this design? What do you think about me bringing back a single edge? This is before anyone was doing it. And both of them were like, nah, no one's doing those anymore. There's a reason for that. Da, da, da. And I was like, oh, okay. So I shelved it. And then, like 6 months later, what is it? The Blackbird or whatever it is. Not Blackbird. Mongoose. Is it Mongoose? One of them. It's going to be named after a bird or a snake or something. But one of them came out. It was like so close to my original design. I was like, man, I should have went with it. I would have beat them or come out at the same time at least. But it was very similar in design. Not that they didn't see the plans at all. It's just there's only so much you can do design-wise. Or there was. Now people are thinking a little more outside the box.
A couple people said, are you ever going to get into straight razor manufacturing?
No, I don't. I don't like to say no to anything, but I mean, who knows? I'm not I feel like a poser though, because I'm not really a huge straight razor guy. I have probably about 5 vintage ones that I use periodically here and there, but my preference is double edge or a single edge razor. So I don't really feel there's other people doing it better than me, so let them do it.
Well, one thing I've noticed too is there's so many different. I mean, there's variables with everything, but like, it all depends on who's honing it, how you maintain it. I've got a couple straight razors, but I've got a couple of the Chinese like gold dollars, and they get 6 or 8 good shaves out of it, and I've got a decent strop. But I just like the fact that if it's giving me a shitty shave, I can put a new blade in it, and then I don't have to worry about it, and not have to send it off to somebody to hone and all that stuff. And I like the security and the reliability I get out of the SEs or the DEs.
Yeah, I'm a shower shaver is what it all comes down to. So it's like, there's only so much I can do in there. And like, I don't want to start whipping around the straight razor. I mean, there's not only that, is you got to dry it off afterwards. There's so much immediate care that comes with using a straight razor. And that's why it's something I use seldom when I'm at the sink on a weekend, maybe when I have the time to do it. Because it does take a little more time, especially when you don't do it that often. But so that is the primary reason. I don't want them hanging up in my shower like I do with my DEs and whatnot.
Sure.
So I personally think the shower is the best place to shave. It's like shaving inside of a hot towel. The conditions are perfect.
Absolutely.
Typically you shower, then you get out, and while you're getting out, your skin's toning back up again as it's hit by that cold air and whatnot. So I like that, like everything's open, everything's moving around. Like for me, it works really, really well. Other people hate hot showers. They like cold shaves. So it's just funny how that works. It
is. And I see, I don't like doing it in the shower because I like to be able to wash myself. I don't trust myself, I guess. But like I notice that I'm always running my blade under hot water because I like the feel of the hot steel against my face. And even sometimes if I don't shower ahead of time, if I'm using, whether it's your cube, now I don't believe in pre-shave oils, but I even find that I've used your cube more or less in my shower just as a good facial cleaner than I have actually as a pre-shave type soap. I feel that the charcoal, now you gave me the radioactive cube that I call it, because I'll come in my bathroom and I'll literally 2 hours later I'll be walking by and this thing is still glowing.
Yeah, staring at you.
It's just like but I found that just its cleaning properties alone, you should market it just as a damn facial cleaner itself. I think it's more beneficial.
If you've ever read the sales page, the way you're supposed to use it, you're supposed to wash your face with it first in the shower or the sink. That degreases your face.
Yeah.
And then before you apply the lather, you reapply the cube against the grain. But I highly recommend you wash your face with it first because, you know, a lot of times people don't wash their face really well before they start shaving. And the natural oils are great, you know, keeping your skin, protecting your skin, keeping it moisturized. They can also trip up a razor. Like in fact, in photography, we used to use nose grease on negatives.
Hey, by the way, my live says it's going to end in 5 seconds. We're going to have to redo this.
Wait, what? Why?